Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Wednesday. Today is Hump Day, Wednesday, December 17th, or a week ahead, week before, well, a week away from Christmas Eve and 8 days away from Christmas. So I do need to finish up real quick before I'm actually ready to go in here. But what I am going to do, I'm going to put some music on for you guys while I step away from the computer for a quick moment. I'll be right back, and then we'll jump right into everything. I'll get it right into what we're gonna talk about and all that tonight. So I'm gonna put some music on for you guys to entertain you guys, and then when I come back, we'll get right into it. So, anyways, I'll see you in a moment. All right, sorry about that. Sometimes you get distracted with things, and then you kind of forget about the time. But anyways, so again, a friendly reminder: if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. I'd be appreciated. Also, have anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With that being said, um, tonight we're going to go over one article from Bleeding Fool, the so the latest edition, of course, of the Indie Comic Showcase. Um, let's see. Latest edition of the Indie Comic Showcase. we'll be doing that. Also, we get caught up on all the latest in professional wrestling. Of course, the wrestling wrap up. Look back to last night's NXT. Um, also, look ahead to tonight's AW Dynamite. As of course AW is continuing to build towards its World's End pay per view at the end of the year here. Of course, a week from this Saturday, I believe. And then we'll finish things off, of course, with this day in each history. So, with all that being said, and yes, I know I'm being a little ragged here, but with that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started then? Get into our main article of the evening. So, all right. So normally, I know normally do these on Thursdays, but as we were right into the the as I was starting right into the Bleeding Fool um, site, I figured I could do this one today, and then figure out what to do for tomorrow. So, anyways, Indie Comic Showcase number 312, Boxland and Sirens of Blood and Water. Article by Chris Braley, published um, December 17th, 2025. All right, so welcome back to another installment of Indie Comic Showcase, weekly blog where we signal boost a few truly independent comics that are currently crowdfunding their projects, crowdsourcing their funding in some way, or just completely self-publishing on their own. Every little bit of support for these creators matters, from a single dollar pledge to the $25 bundle, and of course, the higher tiers are usually fun too. Even if you can't back a campaign or buy a book, you can share or tweet about these projects to your friends and followers. Or, of course, you can also check out my show when I profile these articles, because I'll always share the information with you that way as well. Um, anyways, on Indie Comic Showcase, we interview the creators, show off some art, and tell you how you can check out the project for yourself. Below, we have some outstanding crowdfunding campaigns this week for you to learn about, enjoy, and hopefully support by backing one or more of them. Thanks for checking these out and for being the best part of Indie Comic Showcase. Let's jump in. All right, so this first one here, Sirens of Blood and Water by Felisa Ximena. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Markhorst. Let me find the. Of course, something's probably going wrong with the. Let's grab the. And this looks like, yeah, it's Fund My Comic Project. So let's grab the link for that. Alrighty then, so. Let me just make sure, see what. Right, I gotta do that one here too. Okay, so for both my Rumble and my YouTube subscribers here, so if you guys want to go check those out, check that book out. There's the link to it. So, Fund My Comic Project. All right, there's the link. All right, so now let's get into this interview. Sirens of Blood and Water by Felicia Ximena Markhorst. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. All right, Chris Braley, or CB as he likes to call himself here. Felicia, let's start with the basics. How would you describe your comic to someone hearing about it for the first time? Felicia Ximena Markhorst, FXM, or we'll just say Felicia. A spicy, tragic tale about love, betrayal, vengeance, and the survival of the fittest and fairest. So, classic stuff, right? All right, Chris. That sounds intense and intriguing. What first inspired the story, and what made you decide to take the self-publishing route? Felicia. I saw a picture of a mermaid, had the idea, heard the song Sirens of Blood and Water, and then I envisioned it, and I felt that I could and should do it. I'm doing it on my own because I want total control, so I can tell the story the way it needs to be told. And isn't that usually the case with most people when they decide to venture out on their own, rather than having some major publisher looking over their shoulder? Oh no, you can do this, you can do that, you can't do this. You can decide what you want to put in the book. So always, that's always the benefit of going independent, right? Total, as she put, as many have said, total control. As we continue on here, Chris, sounds like you've created something very personal and atmospheric. Who do you think this story will appeal to the most? Felicia, adult men and women who like the work will make them think in the end. That will make them think in the end. If you like fantasy, spice, tragedy, and a dark twist, this might just be what you're looking for. Chris, let's talk about your creative process. How do you approach the storytelling and artistic collaboration? Felicia, to me, it's very important that an artist can capture the beauty, elegance, and passion. The artist and I were able to sync quickly, and the results are so beautiful. Oh, wow, look at that. There's something that's going to grab your attention. Let's see. Chris, you've assembled a talented team for this book. Tell us more about the people who helped bring your vision to life. Felicia, Felicia Markhorst, writer. Um, David Dion, artist. I believe it's a spelling that you don't usually see too much. Martina Rossi, color artist. Eric Quasgress, um, letterer, and design. I wonder where these people are from. Some of these, I almost get the impression this is a East. These people are based out of Eastern Europe or something. Maybe Europe somewhere, but Niles Bull, proofreader and final edit. Chris, what's been your production journey so far? How close are you to hitting all your goals for the book? Felisa, I held my first book a few years ago, and it's magical. I was able to sell over 300 books in the first month, but we need to sell 1,000. So she, no, this isn't her. This isn't her first trip to the dance, as it were, would appear. Chris, that's a great start. What have you learned from diving into self-publishing and handling everything yourself? Felisa, when you think you're done, the real work has only begun. Nice alliteration there. When you think you're done, the real work has only begun. I think personally, I would have thought it would have sounded maybe just slightly better instead of instead of saying has only begun. I think it would have sounded even better, even sweeter. Has just begun. But that's just me and being the master of words. Ah, that's not alliteration. That's an appropriate rhyme in matching meter. All right, I guess. Thank you, Metal. Let's see, Chris. So this is just the beginning. What's next for you? And are there more stories coming in this world, or perhaps something new on the horizon? Felisa, um, this is issue 1 of 3. And after this, I'd love to create another story, but probably not in the fantasy genre. And again, something just I think going on with this site with the with the pictures there with the links or whatever. But aside from that, Chris, for collectors out there, can you tell us about any special editions, extras, or perks tied to the release? Felisa, there are beautiful variant covers, extra artwork, and in the book, and a QR code to the song "Sirens of Blood and Water." Um, in parentheses, there it inspired my vision. Now, if you guys didn't catch it back in the first part of the interview when she noted that she had a dream and she dreamed of this song, and this is what and this out of this dream she had of this song is what helped her vision to evolve. To evolve this story to evolve. Um, just in case you guys didn't catch that, alliteration is when the first consonant sound of each word matches. Hmm. All right. Well, thank you for that. Let's see. And extra pages you can use to collect more beautiful mermaid art. But most important of all, I hope the story will offer a unique experience. Chris, before we wrap up, is there anything you want readers to know before diving into your comic? Felicia, this is the kind of story you can reread to find all those hidden little secrets I put in there. All right, so now we're going to, and it looks like he was able to feature a couple of female writers in this particular indie comic showcase, which is cool. Pretty cool. All right, so let's get down. So Boxland by Violet Croft. Let me just go grab that link real quick here. And here's another Fund My Comic project. This one, at least, I guess he actually like a little bit there. Boxland. Oops, yeah, that wasn't. Oh. And then let me also put that on the Rumble page here. Alrighty then, so here we go. So there's the link, Fund My Comic link, if you guys want to check that out. All right, so let's get into the interview here. And again, friendly reminder to everybody, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, Boxland by Violet Croft. Okay, Chris Braley. John. Okay. John, for readers just discovering your work, how would you describe Boxland? What's the story all about? Okay, now I'm a little bit okay, so I guess we're about to find out here. So, John Croft. Boxland is a delicately hand-drawn story about Tommy and Timmy and what happens when they fall into a magical cardboard box. Written and illustrated by our 12-year-old daughter, Violet Croft, who has been making characters and stories for about 4 years now. It is Violet's very first official book, published with her parents' help, in parentheses, John and Rebecca Croft. And with your help, we intend to bring even more of Violet's stories to you as they get better and better. All right. So now it makes sense. Again, it reminds me, of course, of that Umbrella guy. He doing books with his in his case, so he's just putting his daughter in the story, whereas this guy is actually handling a lot of the like publishing aspects for his daughter. So interesting thing there. So she's been doing this for 4 years. That means she's been doing this. She was 8 years old. Quite a head start to get on in life, huh? Chris, that's such a fun idea, and how wonderful that it's a family project. What originally inspired Boxland? John, Boxland was inspired by Violet's younger brothers, ages 9 and 6, and by so there's 3 years in between each child, basically. You know, 3 years between the oldest and the middle, and 3 years between the middle and the youngest, and 6 years in total between the oldest and youngest there. And by the magical bottomless sources of endless fun, the obligatory empty cardboard box that gets placed on the living room floor by parents. What is that all about? Yeah, a lot of families, particularly families with young children, have had that situation before, where they've had their young kids set up like little forts at those boxes, right? Imagine all kinds of fun stuff that can happen in those things. Yeah, it would. I think, and I can understand if he want, in a way, if the father here is wanting to keep his daughter out of the limelight, as it were, to protect her from any bad characters or bad faith actors or whatever. But it still would have been nice to have her involved in the interview here too, since this is in fact her idea. So, um, but anyways, Chris, I think every parent can relate to that. Who do you feel this story is best suited for? John, this book, parentheses children's book, is not just for kids, but it can inspire childlike adults to find the joy in simple, artful, meaningful storytelling. So from the parents of young kids to the artful, experienced hearts of the aged who may have forgotten the joy of a simple box. Chris, you mentioned Violet's creative style earlier. How would you describe her artistic approach and influences? John, see that now this is something that would have been this right here is something where, yeah, okay, I can understand John speaking for his daughter, but I still think it would have been nice to hear from the daughter herself for this in this on this question. But again, I can understand being a parent, he wants to probably protect her from any kind of like they could again though they could have done the interview together where the two of them um where the two of them where the two of them were pretty active. So, anyways, John, this book is a great introduction to Violet style, which borrows heavily from fairy tale stories of kids with an audacious and adventurous heart. For example, she is well acquainted with the charming style of Calvin and Hobbes and Charlie Brown cartoons, as well as C.S. Lewis's, J.R.R. Tolkien's, and George MacDonald's wonderful stories. Um, these kinds of stories inspire her innocent yet inventive characters who are working to do good in the world. Chris, it really sounds like a beautiful collaboration. Tell us about the creative team that helped bring Boxland to life. John, Violet Croft illustrated the characters and wrote the story, and her parents helped edit the story and provide the format and helped self publish it at a local printer. Again, understandable. I guess that would have been a better question for the parents to answer, obviously, than the child, the editing side of it. Chris, what was the production process like from start to finish? I imagine there was quite a bit of experimenting along the way. John, Violet used printer paper and pencil to start the story, then hand copied and refined the pictures in color on a Wacom tablet on a MacBook Pro. The text was merely a suggestion at first, as Violet often works in a wordless format. We use Canva to help format it properly to the book and go to printers. Chris, that's impressive for such a young creator. What have you and Violet learned from diving into self publishing and crowdfunding for the first time? John, we have all, Violet, John, and Rebecca, so the mother slash wife, learned an immense amount from formatting, printing, and finishing the book. Although, as our first crowdfund, we still believe we have a lot more to learn about crowdfunding, which I believe most crowdfunders do feel that way. There's always more to learn, right? But then that's life in general, too. The storytelling comes naturally to us, but the marketing and promotion do not necessarily come as easy. The self promotion is likely the hardest thing we have done. Chris, it sounds like the start of an amazing creative journey. So, what comes next for Violet and the Croft family? Um, are there more stories in the works? John, Violet already has about 5 to 10 stories she is working on or planning as her next printed book. Whoa! Quite a busy young lady, isn't she? She is also working on animation and longer format stories. John and Rebecca are. Oh, interesting how this guy is speaking in the third person now. uh, are also working to make more stories, books, media, and film, including stop motion animation and puppetry. Chris, go! Alrighty then. So that's it for this installment. If you're a creator ramping up your own campaign or have a comic available for purchase online and you want to be featured in our weekly column, click here. We can hopefully help you get more eyes on your crowdfunding comic project. Until next time, support indie comics. All right. Well, there we go with that. What a shame that well, okay, so we got one picture from. It was kind of a shame that some of it wasn't able to really come through on that one. But anyways, all right. So as soon as I can get myself okay. All right. So in case you um missed the links earlier, I will of course highlight those here in just a moment. So for the first project we highlighted, of course. So there's for you guys on YouTube there. Sirens of Blood and Water, a fun My Comic project. And for those on Rumble, guys want to go check out those books, there's links to it. There's the link to the site. And for the other book that was highlighted tonight, Boxland, sounds like a pretty cute story, and the fact that you have a very young lady there who is venturing into the world of self-publishing and all that, writing stories and all that, and her parents are giving her a hand. That sounds very intriguing. So always nice to see the family acts, right? Again, my only criticism here is that would have been, again, I know she's 12 years old. I know the father is probably trying to keep her from being overexposed and all that, but it still would have, I think for this interview, it still would have been nice to hear her directly, particularly more on the creative. Like, she probably could not have answered obviously as much on the editorial stuff. That's probably stuff her dad would have, or even better yet, have the entire family interview the entire family for it. Even get the Rebecca, the mother wife involved as well. Again, just my 2 cents on the matter. All. But now, with that being said, of course, let's get ready to move on to the wrestling wrap up. As we do have some stuff we go over from, of course, last night's NXT, as well as looking ahead to tonight's AEW. As looking back to last night's NXT, coming from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, on the CW, with Booker T and Vic Joseph on commentary, and then JC Jane on commentary for the women's tag team match. We'll talk about that in a moment here. So the opening match saw Thea Hall defeat Blake Monroe to become the new, in a match for the NXT Women's North American title. Thea Hall was actually able to defeat Blake Monroe. Now, the funny thing about this and what has been talked about was this was actually not supposed to happen. Actually, Blake was supposed to retain the title, but there was a major botch in which, so apparently when Thea went for a pin on Blake, her hair was covering her shoulders to where the ref couldn't see Blake lift her shoulder up. So that's kind of, it's like everybody was supposedly surprised. It's like, but now NXT Creative right now is just trying to figure it on the fly. It's like, then you had a backstage segment later where Jordan Grace was back with Thea, congratulating. Thea was so excited about all this too. She was like running around the ring, I won, and she was all happy and ecstatic. And then Blake comes in crying, trying to give me back my belt, Yeah, only for Jordan to tell her, hey, let the woman have her moment. Pretty much. So, an unexpected title change, nevertheless. Thea Hall is your new NXT Women's North American Champion. And then the next match, in a tag team match and a match between two teams haven't been seen on NXT in the last couple months or so. Former NXT tag team champions Hank and Tank Ledger and Hank Walker defeated OTM out of the mud of Bronco Nima and Lucian Price. Getting the 1, 2, 3 to, I guess regain some momentum going into, as finish off the year. And in a match in which JC Jane was providing commentary on, the team of representing the No Quarter Catch crew, Kendall Gray and Ren Sinclair, defeated the team of Fatal Influence of Fallon Henley and Lainey Reed after JT Jane tried to interfere in the match, only get knocked off the apron by Ren Sinclair, and Kendall Gray getting the pin getting the submission on I believe Fallon Henley. And in the main event, saw in a number one contenders fatal 4-way to see who would become Obafemi's next challenger for the NXT title. TNA X Division champion Leon Slater outlasted Dion Lennox, Joe Hendry, and Miles Bourne to become the new number one contender. Now there was also some heated exchanges between Ricky, a couple other things that happened on the show as well. Ricky Saints and Javon Evans, that feud is picking up as Ricky Saints trying to get back into contention for the NXT title, only for Javon Evans to be standing in the way. As Javon Evans, I think, is who just had his shot at Obafemi recently, so at Breakdown. And then also some other things that were set up on the show as well as announced over the next couple weeks, 2 weeks from last night, you'll see a match in which Ethan Page will be defending the North American Championship against TNA's Moose. And then on next week's show, Chelsea Green, who is, of course, Ethan Page's mixed tag championship partner in AAA, will be defending the WWE United States Championship against Sol Ruca, obviously getting her first title shot since her return from injury after having to vacate both the WWE Women's Speed and the North American title herself. So that's all that went down on NXT last night. So now, as we get ready to look ahead to tonight's Dynamite, and apparently, So tonight's Dynamite, which aired from the Co-op Live in Manchester, England. Opening match sees Continental Classic Blue League action as Roderick Strong looks to get his first points in the tournament, taking on John Moxley. In a $1 million 6-man tag match, the Elite, the recently reunited Elite of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, take on the Don Callis family of Hechicero, Continental AEW Unified Champion Kazuchika Okada and IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Konosuke Takeshita in a 6-man tag match. In an 8-woman tag match, you have Ring of Honor World Champion Athena teaming with 12 belt Monet of of course among the many belts including AEW, she is holding the AEW TBS championship, and the mega problems of Megan Bain and Marina Shafir take on the Babes of Wrath and the newly crowned AEW Women's Tag Team Champions of Harley Cameron and Women's Tag Team Champions Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale, and their finals opponents of the Timeless Love Bombs of Mina Shirakawa and Toni Storm. In Gold League action, Pac will be taking on Kyle Fletcher, and in the main event, we'll see in the Diamond Ring Battle Royal, you'll have participating in the Diamond Ring Battle Royal. You'll have participating Shelton Benjamin, Ricochet, Josh Alexander, Mark Davis, Luchasaurus, Anthony Bowens, Bandito, Ace Austin, Brody King, Max Caster, and Bishop Khan, and Toa Leone. So that's all that's going down on AEW tonight. So now we will, of course, now get ready to. With that, we're done with the wrestling wrap up. So quickie tonight. So now, and we'll see the results of those tomorrow as well. Look ahead to tomorrow's Ring of Honor and Impact on tomorrow's show. So now, with all that being said, now as we prepare to wind things down here, today is, of course, Wednesday, December the 17th, 2024, or 2025 rather. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So 85, 75, 85, and 2005. Alrighty then. So the first thing I'd like to do is wish a happy 50th birthday to professional wrestler Nick Dinsmore. Now, I know for most people, unless you're really inside wrestling, like somebody like me or Bill Apter or somebody like that. All right, did I hit it hard enough or what? Anyways, now for some of you who are, of course, are WWE fans, you would have remembered Nick Dinsmore as Eugene. So happy 50th birthday to Nick Dinsmore. Probably considered one of the best technically sound wrestlers in professional wrestling. But unfortunately, his biggest claim to fame was portraying the very controversial gimmick of Eugene. Basically, the idea of Eric Bischoff's cognitively challenged nephew. But so here's a little description for you guys who probably just don't know what I'm talking about. Nicholas David Dinsmore is an American professional wrestler. He's best known for his time in World Wrestling Entertainment as Eugene. In Ohio Valley Wrestling, Dinsmore holds the record for most OVW heavyweight championship reigns. Nick was rehired by the WWE in 2013 as a trainer at the Performance Center, but was released from his contract in October 2014. Again, throughout much of his career, he's one of those guys who is a very good in-ring guy, but unfortunately, in order to get to that next level, he unfortunately had to adopt a gimmick that even for the time he was in the WWE back in the early to mid 2000s was considered highly controversial. So happy 50th birthday to Nick Dinsmore. So now I'm moving ahead to the year 1985. On this date in the year 1985, 40 years ago today, the fifth issue of Night Music from Eclipse Comics went on sale on this date back in 1985. It sold for $2 for 32 pages. Fifth issue of Night Music from Eclipse Comics went on sale on this date back in 1985, 40 years ago today. And of course, with that, 1985 is just so nice that we're going to hit it twice. And also on this date in 1985, the Rankin-Bass produced Christmas special, The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, premiered on CBS on this date 40 years ago today. The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus is a 1985 animated Christmas television special. It was produced by Rankin-Bass Productions, based on the 1902 children's book, The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus by L. Frank Baum, the writer of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The special first aired December 17, 1985 on CBS in the United States. This was Rankin-Bass's final Animagic stop-promotion production, with later releases including traditional animation. Notably, this special was an adaptation of a novel and is not connected to the continuity created by previous Rankin-Bass productions. All right. And finally, since I get this all out of the way here, moving ahead to the year 2005, on this date in the year 2005, as soon as I pull that up, of course, the following anime movies premiered on this date 20 years ago today, back in 2005. TMS Entertainment, Mushi King, The Road to the Greatest Champion, and Tezuka's Productions, Blackjack, The Two Doctors of Darkness. Both premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 2005. So TMS Entertainment, Mushi King, The Road to the Greatest Champion, and Tezuka's Productions, Blackjack, The Two Doctors of Darkness, both premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in the year 2005. Alrighty then, so with that being said, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back with, of course, more Niche News tomorrow. Also, this Sunday, I'll be joined by Rex Christian from Double Flyer Momentum. We will be going over comics that went on sale in July 1940. This week we'll be focusing in on Fawcett Comics. Also, a special programming note: I've decided on next week's schedule, as Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are on Wednesday and Thursday this year. So we will be having shows up through Wednesday. So we will have a show on Christmas Eve, and then we'll be taking Thursday and Friday off. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to do Christmas Eve and day, and then come back on Friday, or if I should do show on. So we will be doing a show on Christmas Eve, but we will be off Christmas Day and that Friday. So, anyways, with that being said, I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.